ready.
They say they need to ban the podcast equipment and take y'all mics away. And oftentimes when I listen, shit, I agree.
For real talk.
Hey man, just because we know people don't mean that they know things. A lot of us was in the same classes with some of these folks. That don't mean they were passing these classes.
All the time.
It ain't the world leaving you behind, man. It's your line of thinking. You think the science stopped evolving because you stopped learning, and it don't work that way. I couldn't imagine voting for somebody who thinks identifying with me is identifying with a felon. That's crazy as hell. I'm Mr. Spann, and I'm approving these messages. This is the Mr. Spann Official Podcast. Let's go. Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Mr. Spann Official Podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Spann. This is episode number 54 of the show, man. 54 episodes. I know, right? It's crazy, isn't it? But yeah, man, we are going to be talking about some stuff tonight, man. We're going to be talking about some stuff. It ain't going to be all Donald Trump this time, man. Like, for real talk, it won't be all Donald Trump. I swear to y'all.
There'll be a monkey's bare-assed uncle.
Because I know that's what we've been on the last, couple weeks and shit, because there's a lot going on, man, politically and all that other shit, and I think, the times kind of warrant some of the alarm that your man Spann is trying to raise, goddammit. I ain't going crazy over here, okay? No, we're going to talk a little bit about some other things here tonight. We're going to bring some other elements and pop culture and everything else into the show tonight. But of course, before we do that, I got to remind you guys over here at the Mr. Spann Official Podcast how to get in touch with us here to let your voices be heard, right? So go ahead and hit up that hotline at area code 313-288-0485. That's area code 313-288-0485. Leave us those voicemail messages. Those messages will get read here live on the show and responded to in kind. And if you're watching us live here on Facebook, YouTube, or Instagram, go ahead and hit us up, man, and become a part of the show, man. So real talk, hit us up at area code 313-288-0485. We really do appreciate everybody who contributes to the conversation. Also, hit us up at our email at feedback@thespannreport.com. That's feedback@thespannreport.com. Go ahead and leave us those emails. Of course, those emails will get right here and reply to here live on the show as well. Follow me on Threads and Instagram. My name on both of those platforms is Mr._Spann. So go Oh, okay. I don't know what the fuck happened there, but apparently I think Instagram might have just went down. Yeah, the connection was disconnected, weren't able to stream to that destination. So we're just gonna stop fucking with Instagram right now. We're gonna terminate that one. And we're gonna do the Facebook and the YouTube. I don't know what the hell's going on with Instagram, but that shit just totally threw me the fuck off. What the fuck I was saying? What was I saying, y'all? What the hell was I saying? No, man, but follow me on Threads and Instagram. My name on both of those platforms is Mr._Spann, right? But also, Blue Sky, man, if you're on Blue Sky, for those of you who are no longer on the Twitter streets, man, I do have an account on Blue Sky. I'm very seldom there, but if you want to really chop it up with your man Spann, I'm mostly on Threads now, and that's Mr._Spann, right? Also, hit us up on YouTube, man. Subscribe to the channel on YouTube. It's the Spann Report network on YouTube, and go ahead and hit up the Spann Report on YouTube. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel, like the videos, man. Contribute to the conversation. Leave some comments there. We'll highlight some of those comments and make them a part of the conversation here as we do the show, man. We will really appreciate everybody who does that as well, right? Also on Spotify and iTunes, leave us a 5-star review. Those 5-star reviews are the ones that get read here live on the show. We really appreciate everybody who does that. It doesn't cost you a dime, just a couple minutes of your time to let everybody know why you're rocking with us over here at the Mr. Spann Official Podcast and the Spann Report Podcast Network in its entirety, right? So yeah, man, we have gotten the business out of the way, man. So yeah, it's been a slow week, man. Like for me, professionally, it's been like when I say slow, nigga, I mean really fucking slow, man. I mean, when I say slow, I mean like your man Spann been coming home on time most days, like no overtime.
Well, there'll be a monkey's bare-assed uncle.
It's been like that, man. It's been like that. And so over that time, nigga, because, we're not doing as much work at the gig as I am used to doing at, normally. oftentimes that leads to us having times for conversations that we probably shouldn't be having, right? Having time for conversations that we probably shouldn't be having. So, one of the conversations that we've been having, or that we had while I was at work, man, was whether or not manscaping was an acceptable form of grooming for black men. And I'm going to guide you guys through how this conversation even became a thing at the workplace and shit, right? So me and one of my coworkers, man, we were going through our grooming regimen, right? Like, if you're watching the show here, man, your man Spann rocks a bald head, man. I've been rocking a bald head for quite some time. My hairline been betraying me all my life, but it wasn't until like my late 20s, early 30s where I just kind of embraced the fact that my hairline was a thing that wasn't trying to be kept. So I just all right, it's time for me to get rid of this, right? But I've been having, I was having a hard time figuring out how to maintain and how to maintain a bald head, because people tend to think that having a bald head or maintaining a bald head doesn't take much work. I mean, all you're doing is shaving all that shit off, right? I mean, yeah, you're shaving all that stuff off, but you still have some maintenance that you have to keep up for a bald head. I mean, I've seen some motherfuckers with some immaculate bald heads, man. My Uncle Londo, God rest his soul, this nigga's head was like shiny as shit. It looked like he never had a razor bump on his head. He never had any looked like he never had nicked his head or none of that shit, man. His head looked good, man, real talk. And I envied my Uncle Londo's, bald head or whatever. And I'm not exactly quite to the level of where my Uncle Londo got his bald head, but I aspire to get a bald head like my Uncle Londo, right? So one of the things one of my coworkers was talking about was the type of the tools that we use, right, in order to shave our heads and shit, right? So lately I've been using on my head, I've been using the Freebird, right? Some of you may have been seeing the Freebird advertised on social media, especially on like Facebook or maybe Instagram or something like that. You've probably seen it. And it's one of those, it's a 5-blade, like kind of razor, like a Norelco shaver, I'll say that. And you can palm it in your hand and you can just kind of go across your head, all over and everything else, right? And I found that it works really good for me, right? I use that, and I also use a moisturizing conditioner as opposed to shaving cream. So I don't use shaving cream on my head. I normally use a moisturizing conditioner after having placed a really hot towel on my head to open the pores up, and the moisturizing conditioner, and boom, I go to town with my Freebird. Probably takes me about a good 10-15 minutes, and I'm done shaving my head, right? And so we were talking about that, but we also got to talking about what we use to shave our beards and stuff like that, because in my particular line of work, you're not allowed to have a beard, right? We're not allowed to have beards at my job. It's now some guys get away with it, some of us aren't really trying to push management until they got to talk to us about it. I'm one of those folks, I don't need to have a conversation. And not only that, my beard doesn't grow that fast anyway, right? So at most, this is what you will see me with, right? But I was talking with one of my older coworkers, and he was asking, I was telling him about some of the different brands of things to shave your head with, right? And so I told him, I said, well, you got a couple different brands, man. You got the Freebird, and then I think there's another thing out here called the Pitbull, and there's Manscaped. I think Manscaped now has a shaver for your head. And now my coworker told me he had heard about Freebird. He yeah. I heard about that Freebird shit, man. I saw one, I was gonna buy it, and I was gonna use that on my beard. And I said, hold on, man, hold on.
I'll be a monkey's bare-assed uncle.
I had to tell him, I said, listen, son, you might want to be careful with which Manscaped razor you use or trimmer you use, because not only do they have one for your beard, but they also have one for your balls.
God damn!
Yeah, man. I had to tell him, I said, listen, they got one for your balls. You might want to make sure you get the right one. So as we're talking about this, of course, niggas are ear hustling. Right. So me and one of my coworkers are having this conversation about the grooming, but then the other because we ain't got shit to do, right? We ain't got shit to do with the job. So we got some other coworkers who come in on the conversation and it's like, yo, man, like hold on. What you mean? They got trimmers for your balls, nigga? Like these niggas had never even heard that they have trimmers for your balls. Like not never. They had never heard of this shit, right? So I'm telling them, I said, yeah, there's a brand called Manscaped, and they have trimmers for your balls, but they also have trimmers for your beard, and they also have trimmers for your head and everything else. But these niggas they're stuck on the trimmers for your balls, right? And so I'm like, they're asking questions and shit like that. But then they're like, yo, Spann, man, so how you know about this, Spann? Right? Why do you have so much information about all this ball shit, Spann? Why do you know so much about these ball trimmers? And to me, that was a question that's
the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. No wonder you get D's and everything.
That's how I'm approaching the questioning, right? In my head, I'm thinking that's the dumbest question in the world. But yeah, your man Spann manscapes. I didn't think I had said anything wrong. I didn't think I had said anything that was controversial. I didn't think I had said anything that would lead for niggas to be like questioning your man Spann's actual fucking sexuality, bro.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. No wonder you get D's and everything.
Yeah, so it was one of those things where I was like, yo, man, so I have to explain now to these construction niggas, right? Because I work in construction. Now I got to explain to these construction niggas what manscaping is. And, I'm working with some guys who are a little bit older than me. I'm working with some guys who are a little bit younger than me. And it's amazing how the conversation kind of skewed because there was a couple guys who admitted to shaving or trimming a little bit, but none of them would actually admit to shaving anything. Like they were just like it was something wrong with the idea of shaving in the nether regions, right? And one guy was asking me, he said, "Well, like, yo, Spann, do you bend over when you shave your balls, man? Like, what's going on with that? Like, do you sit down when you shave your balls? Like, how do you get up underneath there? Like." it was crazy, right? But one of the things I thought was interesting was that like how the conversation steered towards whether or not you do this because of your relationship to a woman, right? Like, are you doing this because a woman told you need to do this? And my wife never encouraged me to do this. This was a decision that I made entirely on my own. And I was telling them about like, yo, man, so I started doing it, but like there's other products and shit. It's not even just like the shaving of it, bro. Like they got ball deodorant, they got ball toner, they got like ball wipes and shit. And they like, pause. Whole bunch of pausing going on. Because apparently you can't talk to other men about the grooming habits that you have without them feeling that there's something homosexual linked to it. Which was odd to me because I'm like, yo, bro, like the weird thing about all of this to me was how much of this conversation was geared towards whether or not the grooming habits had something to do with whether or not you dealt with men or women sexually, right? I was actually like a little bit shocked that they would link grooming or grooming of that area to your sexuality, whether you are homosexual or bisexual or whatever, that was something that they would link that to. And the other part was like you had some of the older guys who was like, nah, man, I ain't doing all that, man. If she can't fuck with me if she can't fuck with me when I got all my bush down there, then fucking she don't deserve me at my work. Like, they call themselves flipping that shit, but it was like, all right, nigga, whatever. But my thing was, why does it have to be about, whether or not someone else would enjoy you being shaven down there? How about it being about you being, you being comfortable with you being shaven down there? I'm like, not to like TMI, you niggas are like, but my balls feel amazing when I finish shaving and like do my whole little regimen and shit. My shit feels amazing. I'm like, yo, man, like I ain't going back. Like Kamala Harris is out here on some, we ain't going back. Nigga, I ain't going motherfucking back, man. I'm not.
I'll be a monkey's bare-assed uncle.
I'll be out here smooth as a baby's ass, man. Real talk. It feels great. It feels amazing. It feels like going to the dentist and having your mouth, when you go to the dentist and you get like a real thorough cleaning, it feels like that, man. It feels refreshing. It feels refreshing. And I feel sorry for the bros who feel like their sexuality is keeping them from having the same clean feeling that I'm feeling right now. Right? Right. But ultimately though, what it came down to, because I was getting all of the jokes. They was clowning your man, right? They was clowning your man Spann. But ultimately, I was like, yo, man, you niggas will never make me feel bad about being clean. You will never be able to do that. And it was one of those things where I felt like for like some of the younger guys who might have been like, yo, man, that might be something I could probably do, for myself or whatever. Because, ultimately, especially when you're dealing with a lot of dudes, man. If you're working in an environment that's just a lot of dudes, the jokes tend to although people like try to mask their shit as jokes, it's one way in which to try to police how other men behave as men, right? And so one guy was like, yeah, if my daddy found me in the bathroom shaving my balls, he'd probably that'd probably be my last day walking the earth. And I told him, I said, yeah, if your daddy would have found you in the bathroom shaving your balls, it'd probably been your last day on earth because you was using his motherfucking clippers, man. Right? They have clippers now solely dedicated for you to be able to maintain yourself down there. But now I present this, I will present this question to you guys here, man, right now, because I did this on Threads and I don't think it really resonated much on Threads, but I will present this. This will be a poll question on the show, man. Like whether or not as a man, do you scape? And as a woman, do you appreciate a man who manscapes? Like, is that a thing? And, how do you feel about, that sort of thing? Right. So I will put that in the show notes, and that will be the poll question tonight. Manscaping, is that something that you are down with, whether you're a male or a female? But yeah, man, it was an interesting thing. It was an interesting conversation that we were having at the job site, because you got a bunch of construction guys who got too much goddamn time on our hands, man. Real talk. But yeah, so let's get out of that. Let's get off of that. Let's get off of that. But the next topic that we're gonna talk about here, man, was Corey Holcomb, right? So I don't know if a lot of you guys are aware, but Corey Holcomb showed up on an episode of Cam Newton's podcast, right? And so Cam Newton has a podcast, and I think the last time Cam Newton went viral, he had a psychiatrist, or I forget exactly what her practice was, but he did have someone who dealt with mental health. It was a woman who dealt with mental health, and she really kind of, tried to do a deep dive with Cam on his want of having children, but not necessarily having, what many people would say like a healthy relationship with the mothers of said children. He just wanted to have these children. And so Corey Holcomb, who's a comedian based out of Chicago, I had been a fan of Corey Holcomb for a long time. I thought Corey Holcomb was hilarious. Corey Holcomb has made me laugh hysterically despite myself, because I knew he was saying some fucked up shit, right? But to me at the time, funny as all hell. Right? Like, even though I'm like, that's fucked up, I'm still like, that's funny as fuck. It's fucked up. It's funny as fuck, but it's fucked up, right? And so Corey went on the Cam Newton podcast, and he talked about how he interacts with women, right? And so for those of you who may be familiar with Corey Holcomb, you also kind of know like his interaction with women is it kind of frames a lot around his comedy, how he deals, like most of his comedy is based around how he deals with women. And so I'm gonna pull this video up. Where the fuck, what the fuck happened to it? Okay, So I had this saved. Let me go ahead and pull this up because I know I had this saved, but maybe I might have deleted. So let me do this here. Let me search this up, and then we'll pull this up so you guys can watch right on with your man's Spann. Hold on just a second. That's not the clip that I'm looking for. I know I had it saved. Okay. I know where to get it, though. So let me do this. Because this is where I got it from. Bear with me here, people, while I kind of scroll through some stuff. I thought I had this thing saved, but apparently I did not. All right. Come on. Okay, so here we go. Here's the post. Let me so I got to go to the comments here. All right. So let me pull this up so you guys can watch right along with your man's Spann. Hold on just a second here while I do that. Share screen. Boom. Boom. And add this to the scene. And let's see what this nigga's talking about.
Corey, I'm gone. She just can't afford to do it. So I take it. I can control.
Oh, okay. So let me also provide the parameters here. Apparently, Corey is talking about the types of women that he would like to deal with. The types of women that he would like to deal with in his current position right now as a comedian and as a celebrity and everything else. These are the types of women that he would like to deal with. Here we go.
Control them better. A girl who can't afford to say, fuck you, Corey, I'm gone. She just can't afford to do it. So I take advantage of that. Now, that might be wrong, but her poverty and my needs, most of the time, it even out. I don't really need a lot of their time. And they don't tell me to fuck off because they know when I come over, they children can get some...
Hold up. God damn.
Some outlet Jordans.
Outlet Gucci.
So Cam, like you could tell, Cam is like, hold up, bro. Like, hold the fuck up. Seriously? He choking on the cigar right now. But he's really on some like, nah, bro. This is really what you own right now? Like, for real, this is what you own? You can tell Cam is like, he wants to push back, but he ain't really equipped to.
Yeah.
Outlet Gucci. But how you speak of women, right, where you want control. Is there ever...
I don't want control that is taken by force. I want control because I'm the one who is the leader of the pack, naturally.
So could you see yourself in a situation where a woman makes as much as you or more than you?
I like women who make money, just I can't do nothing with you other than sleep with you. If you could take care of yourself, you're going to think you could talk to me. I don't like you talking to me a lot. I know you got your own money and all like that. So if you want to, we can hook up, hang out, do that.
All right. So one of the things about this particular exchange between Cam Newton and Corey Holcomb is that, like, for years, like even listening to Corey in this particular exchange, like, for years, I have kind of like, I had made it up in my mind that Corey Holcomb, like this is part of the comedic shtick, right? This is part of a character that he had made up in order to, like to be funny, right? Like this is his entire shtick. Like the whole like, yeah, this is how I deal with women. Women ain't shit, you know. I need women to know that I ain't shit also. So this how, and for a long time I thought it was just a part of the shtick. But then you start seeing that, like, yo, this nigga talks reckless about his own offspring, and talking reckless about his offspring's moms and stuff like that. Like, wait. This nigga might just kind of be like that, right? Like as much as this nigga has made me laugh and chuckle and like, yo, man, what this nigga is saying is fucked up, right? What he's saying is fucked up. The way in which he says this fucked up shit has me out here laughing. And I know I'm laughing despite myself. I'm laughing despite my sensibilities and shit. But this nigga was hilarious for a long time. And so it gets to a point though where, for me anyway, I'll just say for me, it gets to a point where you start thinking that like, yo, this nigga might really be like that. And so when you think about like, especially like I'm going somewhere with this, but when you think about how like this nigga might really be like this and he's wrapping all this up in the comedy and everything else and how the comedy is like kind of grabbing folks and stuff. Cause like I said, even despite my sensibilities, I'm laughing at this shit and it kind of minimizes the fucked up shit because we're laughing. It minimizes the fucked up shit he's really saying. You also have another group of brothers, another group of men, period. Not even just, brothers specifically, but you got another group of dudes who just like, yo, they take to this sort of messaging. They take to this sort of messaging. And then you kind of, this is like a slight nudge, but you kind of wonder how much, the laughing and the jokes and everything else could lead someone into, the manosphere. And now suddenly they're in the throes of a motherfucker like a Kevin Samuels or a motherfucker like an Andrew Tate, or listen to, goofy loser ass niggas like the Fresh and Fit podcast type niggas, that sort of thing, right? Because Corey is funny. At least he has that going for him. These other motherfuckers, not so much. But the messaging is still the same. And that's like, these women ain't shit. And because these women ain't shit, we therefore have to behave a certain way. We have to look for a certain type of woman, and we have to ask for these women to behave a certain way in order to be with us. And if they can't do that to be with us, then fuck these women, right? And that becomes an entire different thing. And that leads these dudes to be, quote unquote, red pilled. That leads to these dudes becoming, fodder for right wing influences. That leads these dudes into believing that their position in life, it has nothing to do with some of the decisions that they've made, with some of the circumstances of the decisions that they made, that is all the fault of someone else, and that there's an attack on manhood, right? And as much as we can look at someone like a Corey Holcomb as like, yo, he's funny, but also what he's saying is fucked up, we can laugh that shit off. I kind of think there are quite a few brothers. There are quite a few dudes, not just black dudes. There are quite a few dudes who this is kind of like this. It's a slight nudge into believing that because the world isn't what it was when their grandfathers were, young men, or when their fathers were young men. And the promise of the patriarchy isn't necessarily holding up its end of the bargain when it comes to them, that it leads them down a road to where, this sort of rhetoric, although it's, it could be seen as being comedic, is also terribly dangerous. Right. And, bringing this all the way back to how we were talking about Barack Obama and how he talked about black men and how he brought it to like, there's a lot of, brothers who might not necessarily be ready for a black woman to be president. And, there might be some misogyny involved in that. And then you look at how many brothers had a visceral reaction to that, who were upset, who were offended even that Barack Obama would even broach the issue in that way. And it's like, yo, man, like, let's not act as though, and I talked about this the last couple of weeks, but let's not act as though this isn't something that is relevant, and also something that like is happening in real time. We're seeing it happening in real time. We just don't want to call it, a lot of us don't want to call a thing, right? And so as I was watching this particular clip of Corey Holcomb talk about how he needs to have a level of control over a woman, and he needs to have a woman of a certain social economic status in order for him to feel like he's a leader naturally, because he has more economic means than she does. This isn't something that is like just isolated to a Corey Holcomb. Unfortunately, there's quite a few brothers who feel that way. There's quite a few men, not just black dudes. There's quite a few men who feel as though, hey, I need to get with a woman who is down socially, who is down economically, so that I could dominate that relationship with what little means that I do have. Because if I deal with one who is on my level or one who has more means than me, then somehow that makes me feel like less than a man. I can't be the man that I need to be because she has means and she has a bit more agency than some of these other women do. And to me, that sounds like a nigga that's weak, right? That sounds like a weak nigga to me. If you have to deal with a woman on a certain level because you don't feel like you could be a man unless she's on a certain level or unless she's below you, then that just sounds like a weak nigga to me, right? Unfortunately, this sort of rhetoric, this sort of ideology goes out to the masses on social media, man, and it's popular. It's popular on social media, man. Like, we all laugh and joke about it. Ha ha ha. It's all funny, and it goes into the gender wars and all this other shit. But ultimately, what I think it leads to is a bunch of really lonely dudes. It speaks to a whole lot of lonely dudes who feel as though the patriarchy has failed them, and they get red pilled, and now they feel like they have to be on an extreme when it comes to how they deal with the opposite sex. And not only that, how they deal with politics and who should be in positions of leadership. That's just me. Let me know what you guys think, though. Let me know what you guys think about it, because I've been thinking about this a little bit. But let me know what you guys think on that. Real talk. Now, another story that we're going to talk about here is Angel Reese, man. Angel Reese has been in the social media has been talking about her as of late. And the reason why they've been talking about Angel Reese has to do with the fact that Angel Reese went on, I believe it was Instagram Live, and she talked about the fact that, like, yo, the WNBA, her salary from the WNBA doesn't even pay her fucking like rent and shit. Like, that's crazy. Yeah, so we get the story here. This comes out of vibe.com. I believe there's video attached to this. So let me go ahead and pull this up and see if there is. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to read a little bit from the article, and then we're going to play the video. But I'm going to read a little bit from this article. It says, Angel Reese has quickly risen to become one of the hottest names in the WNBA, and her name has garnered her plenty of opportunities outside of the sport that she loves. The star athlete recently shared that her side endeavors are helping her fund her lifestyle, as her WNBA salary currently does not pay her bills. While on Instagram Live, Reese lightheartedly encouraged her haters to keep hating because hating pays the bills. I keep telling y'all, man, there's a lot of people on social media who get paid when y'all share all of the shit about these people that y'all hate, right? Hate watching is still watching. Hate sharing is still sharing. They get paid regardless, okay? And Angel Reese is a lesson in that. Like, if you hate her, but you're still sharing shit, you're still talking about her, she gets paid in the end. Real talk. She said, because keep hating because hating pays the bills. She then went on to show her role into how her role on the Chicago Sky doesn't cover her main expenses, such as rent. So let me pull this video up so you guys can watch. What exactly was Angel Reese talking about? Let's see what the young lady is talking about here. Let me pull this up so you guys can watch right on with your man Spann. Let's see what Angel Reese is talking about.
Hand pays them bills, baby. I just hope y'all know the WNBA don't pay my bills at all. I don't even think that pays one of my bills. Literally. I'm trying to think of like my rent for where I stay at. Let me do the math real quick.
It might cover that. Yeah,
it covers
that. It definitely covers that.
What is my, I don't even know my salary. 74? Okay. I don't even know my salary. Does it? What is it? You don't even, yo! I'm living beyond my means. It's like, no, my rent is more than that. It's $8,000. I'm living beyond my means, like y'all think.
Okay, so first thing I would say, like, damn, where you living in the city of Chicago that's costing you $8,000 a month for an apartment, bro? Like, goddamn. That's like 4 times my mortgage and shit. And like, you know, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of motherfucking money.
Babe, if y'all thought, it's like, I don't even know my salary for WNBA. That thing. Did I even pay my car note?
Yeah, I think I paid your car note.
Yeah, I ain't doing it, that thing. Oh, when is that other hot tea coming out?
But that's sad because that really shows you, like, obviously you're fortunate to be an income, but think about how many people don't and have to actually live off that.
I know.
That's really sad.
I wouldn't even be able to get a sandwich if I wanted to.
Yeah, no, you literally.
I wouldn't be able to eat. I would only be able to live.
Yeah. Like, especially in the city, like Chicago,
Yeah.
New York, like, that's crazy. And you make the same amount of money if you live in New York, California, which are the most expensive states.
I know.
Versus if you live in,
like, imagine
Minnesota.
Where,
Yeah.
like Cam and Ricky and them
Yeah.
live.
Yeah, and their
Damn.
tax rate is so much higher.
And I want to live somewhere safe, so.
So crazy.
All right, so this particular video went viral over the course of the week. Many people had a lot to say about it. First things first, I have been an advocate for women athletes to be getting paid in equitable ways, right? I can remember, you know, back in the days when me and my boy Cliff and Walter would do the Beer and Chicken podcast, our old sports podcast, and hopefully we can bring that back. But I can remember times where it would be heated discussions between us about whether or not these women athletes, especially women in the WNBA, should be getting paid more, because at the time the WNBA was being subsidized by the NBA. You know, I remember we had a heated discussion about how NBA referees were making more money a year than WNBA players, and no one comes to a WNBA game, no one goes to an NBA game looking to watch the referees. They're coming to watch the players. And so the fact that Angel Reese technically makes less than me playing a professional sport, yeah, something's wrong with that. Something's wrong with that. And I say that something's wrong with that because of the amount of money that, you know, someone like an Angel Reese generates. I'm not, like, people get into this thing about where they talk about whether or not NBA players or professional athletes in general are overpaid. And it's like, yo, man, you can't compare your job to the jobs of these people who generate more money for their corporations, for these other corporations, whether it be for endorsements, whether it be for, extending their likeness to other businesses and everything else. Like, they should be making some of the money because they generated so much money for everyone else, right? So to compare them to teachers and everything else, like, y'all kind of, you know, you're doing a lot. You're doing a lot, right? But it was interesting to watch how people were talking about Angel Reese and how one of the things I thought was interesting about this, like, yo, I give Angel Reese grace in the sense that, like, when she felt the need to talk about this on Instagram Live, right? I'm probably old enough to be Angel Reese's daddy, right? And so, like, I feel as though, like, the younger generation shares entirely too much. I do, like, even despite the fact that we just finished talking about like shaving balls and shit, right? But no, I feel as though, like, the younger generation shares entirely too much about their lives, that too much about who they are and how they make money and things like that is it's just, like, free for everyone to know. Like, yo, sometimes you got to kind of keep some shit in house. Everything in everybody's business. I think that's the older person in me when I think like that, right? So, like, she goes on Instagram Live and she's talking about, like, I'm living beyond my means, and now you invite this judgment of people who are making less than you, right? Who are making less than you, who don't necessarily understand that everything that comes about or that comes with you being a professional athlete, whether or not you have to pay security, whether or not you have to, whether or not they understand, not only are you getting paid this amount of money from the WNBA, but how many other deals that you have outside of the WNBA that kind of facilitates and allows for you to be able to live in an apartment that costs you $8,000 a month, which is a lot of money to the vast majority of people, right? especially when we're talking about how we're talking about how people are living generally, right? Like we think about this presidential election, man. People are like, man, inflation is killing me, man. I can't buy eggs, I can't buy cheese, I can't go grocery shopping, like I rent is too goddamn high. And you're on here talking about, yeah, I spent $8,000 a month on my rent, and like my WNBA salary doesn't cover that, but that don't even cover my car note, that sort of thing. It can lend to, I lend that to her youth. I lend that to her youth because she's like not necessarily understanding that like the people that you're talking to can't fathom and aren't fathoming like your circumstances, right? And all that to say that she's still not being paid the amount of money that she should be paid. So the fact that she's getting paid probably $74,000 a year to play in the WNBA, despite the fact that like her jersey sales alone probably have eclipsed that 4 or 5 times over, because I'm sure she probably has one of the more popular jerseys in the WNBA of all the players in the league. Again, people aren't necessarily connecting those two, and so the fact that she's out here, talking about, yeah, that doesn't pay the bills. It's like, it's one of those things where, hey, yeah, I pay $8,000 a month for my rent, and I get paid $74,000 a year to play basketball for the Chicago Sky, and yet I'm still underpaid comparative to, other athletes, male athletes who are in the same position that I am. You got people who ride the bench in the NBA who get paid exponentially more than I do, despite the fact that they don't generate half the revenue that I do. They still get paid more money than I do as a female athlete. There's something to be said there. But then there's also the finance, like the disconnect between regular folk who are like, yo, why are you paying $8,000 a year to live in an apartment when you only make $740,000 a year, right? And they have a hard time reconciling those two things, right? And so, yeah, man, it's like one of those things. Like, yo, it's a clash, so to speak, of where we all are financially in these times, right? Whether or not she's higher or upper middle class, or whether or not she's a part of the upper 1%, or whether or not, she's just like being irresponsible with her money. We all remember the ESPN documentary Broke, where we had people like Andre Rison and Jamal Mashburn and some other like NFL football players who really were fucking up their money. But like, yo, it's one of those things where, Angel Reese, she's young, she's new to the professional ranks and everything. But also, I think some of this has to do with, she's already had critics because of the Caitlin Clark, juxtaposition, where people are judging her between her and Angel, and Caitlin Clark. But yeah, man, it's like it's a very nuanced conversation about class, about the disparity between male and female athletes, the whole nine. But I would hope that when we do have these conversations, that we take all of these things in mind, and we don't just hop on and jump in this girl's DMs or make her feel a certain type of way, because unfortunately for some of us older folks, yeah, we would like to live in a place that probably would demand $8,000, but we can't afford to because we're not necessarily making that kind of money. And the fact that so many folks are like, yo, $74,000 is a shit ton of money to them. For her right now, they can't, they're not understanding, like, yo, she's making money in other ways, right? So you got that going on, man. But yo, shout out to Angel Reese, man. The girl is doing her damn thing. Like, she's got a lot going on just outside of the WNBA, and I hope people really recognize that. Real talk. Another story that we got here going on. So Donnie Swaggart, he is the son of disgraced televangelist Jimmy Swaggart, who was out here all kinds of wrong back in the day.
Who are these niggas? We need to stay away from these niggas.
Stay away from these niggas, man. Real talk. But Donnie Swaggart had a lot to say about the black church. Now, Donnie Swaggart is a Trump supporter, for lack of a better term. Just
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. There's no wonder you get D's and everything.
And Donnie Swaggart, being the televangelist, or not necessarily even being the televangelist that his father was, because I didn't even know who the fuck he was up until about a week ago. But Donnie Swaggart decided he was going to go to the pulpit and he was going to admonish the black church, because the black church had the audacity and the unmitigated gall, to encourage people to vote for Kamala Harris.
What the fuck, y'all? God damn! God damn! God damn!
What?
Fuck!
So I'm going to pull this video up. So you guys can watch right along with me. I got this here from Roland Martin because I couldn't find the damn video anywhere else. Roland had the clip, so we're going to get the clip from Roland. But let me pull this up so you guys can watch right along with your man Spann. Hold on just a second while I do this here. And let's see what the hell this dude, Donnie Swaggart, is talking about. Check this out, you guys.
Because I don't know if y'all saw this.
Let me fast forward here to the video, to the clip. Here we go. Check this out, y'all.
I'll tell you right now, I'm going to be, for the statement I'm about to make, I'm going to be called a racist. And I will be called.
If you know off top you're going to be called a racist, just know that everybody know you about to say some racist shit. It's almost like when people say no disrespect, they say no disrespect right before they say some very disrespectful shit. So trust and believe, man, we know you about to be racist, bro. If you got to start it off like that, we know you about to be racist.
Called every name under the sun. But somebody needs to stand up and speak to the black church.
Do they? Do they? Does it have to be you? Who designated you? Like, real talk. Like, who?
I'll be a monkey's bare-assed uncle.
Why does it have to be Donnie Swaggart of infamous Jimmy Swaggart fame? Like, why does it have to be you, Donnie? Why do you feel like it had to be you? Like, you were in a position to talk shit to the black church about what the black church is doing. Why you, brother? No, I'm sorry. He's not my brother. But why you? Why you?
When the largest African-American Pentecostal denomination, when that leader stands up and said, I endorse that woman, he was saying, I endorse murder.
Y'all was calling her a cop, though. Many people on the left were calling Kamala Harris a cop. She was locking up way too many people for their taste. They were calling her a cop. Madu, go on.
I endorse homosexuality.
Okay, so we endorse people loving who they want to love. What's wrong with that?
I endorse lesbianism.
Women loving who they want to love. Again, what's wrong with that?
I endorse transgenderism.
People being who they are authentically. What the fuck is wrong with that?
I endorse every evil that hell could prosper, bring up to the right. That's wrong, folks.
And so herein lies the issue, is that many people on the right side, or the people who are right-leaning, who would vote for Donald Trump, are as much as they will proclaim to be a Christian nation, and as much as they will proclaim to be Christian, being Christian is to be Christ-like, and Christ spoke about loving your neighbor as you would love yourself, not demonizing those because they're different from you. And somehow, some way, a lot of these preachers have forgotten that message. Many of them have leaned into the idea of demonizing those who are different from them. Donnie Swaggart is on that message.
And the black church votes predominantly for the party that is anti-God.
Now think about this for a second. What would make you? Why would the black church and why would black people predominantly vote against the people with whom you align yourself with? Has he ever thought to ask himself that fucking question?
What in blue blazes is going on out here? Did this nigga just say blue blazes?
That was the wrong one. I was looking for this.
Who are these niggas? We need to stay away from these niggas.
We need to stay away from the niggas that are Donnie Swaggart. Because again, why would black people and the black church vote diametrically opposed to you and the shit that you stand for? Right? That is the question that you should be asking yourself.
What's going on here? What's going on? See, my statement to them is this. We've had them call into the program. I don't like it when you talk about how they say, well, no, the problem is they don't like it because we're stepping on their toes. Hello? But I guarantee you, if 1860 was today, they wouldn't say a word about preachers preaching against slavery.
Exactly, because they wouldn't talk about themselves being subjugated. So why then do you think that people who have been subjugated should also advocate for more people to be subjugated? Why do you think that that is something that the black church should be advocating for when our people have already been subjugated under the name of Christianity by the white church? Why do you think that we should be continuing the same bullshit that you are on right now? Come on, man. Think about that for a second. It ain't that hard. It's not that hard.
They would trumpet it, and they should. So then why will not the African American church stand up for righteousness?
Why isn't like allowing people to be who they are authentically and holistically something to be disparaged? Why would we do that? Your people wouldn't allow for us to be 100% human. That, y'all would count us as 3/5 as a person. So why would the black church and why would black people, why should we be on the same bullshit that you guys were on back in the 1860s? Make that make sense to anybody other than yourself.
And stand up for the word of God. Come on, church. Come on. You can call me a racist.
You're racist.
Call me every name under the sun.
I ain't got to call you that, but I know you're racist.
But I am right. I come
You're wrong as two left shoes, but okay.
against you in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ.
And you should probably stop using the name of the Lord Jesus Christ in order to justify your BS. Real talk.
You don't vote for somebody just because mama voted them or daddy voted for them.
And here's the part where they start calling you stupid. Right? Here's the part where the white pastor is calling black people stupid. You aren't smart enough to vote for people because you actually looked at the policies and you actually understand what these policies mean for you. You're only voting this way because your mama voted for them and your daddy voted for them and you don't have any agency over your own motherfucking vote. Fuck you, man. Fuck you. This is the part where they call you stupid.
But you vote according to the word of God. Come out from among them and be ye separate, says the Lord.
All right. But that was the clip that Roland Martin shared, right? But man, it's one of those things where I'm looking at that you couldn't have possibly thought. You couldn't have. This is how I know Donnie Swaggart isn't surrounded by, enough black people to tell, hey man, this probably ain't the message you want to go out there and send out. Because this ain't it. This ain't it. You calling our people stupid, you saying they're unholy, you're minimizing our own subjugation underneath the church's boot. This might not be the message. I saw one black face in that entire congregation. There was one black face behind him. I'm not sure what his congregation looks like beyond that. But anytime you decide that you want to go at the black church and there's a lot of applause in the crowd, chances are there's not a lot of black people there. There's not. Real talk. But man, we got that going on, man. These are the MAGA folks. They want us not only like let's think about the ridiculousness of like the choice that they're trying to put us beyond, like the choice that we have. Donnie Swaggart would have you believe that like, yo, you're supposed to vote for a Donald Trump who is 3 times married, cheated on the first wife with the second wife, cheated on the second wife with the third wife, cheated on the third wife with a porn star while she was pregnant with his son, right? Who has been convicted of sexual assault in a civil matter, owes that woman millions of dollars, right? And yet you're talking to us as though we should be admonished morally because we refuse to vote for Donald Trump. Oh, man. That's not the one. That's not the one. This is the one I want.
Shut up. Shut the fuck up.
Damn.
Enough. Boy, I've been sick to my fucking stomach watching you imbeciles type things. Stop typing. You niggas are stupid.
Or better yet, Martin Luther King Jr. also said this, and it's so apropos.
A lot of white folk have demonstrated eloquently that they don't have no sense.
They ain't got no sense, man. They ain't got no sense. So yeah, man, Jimmy Swaggart's offspring, Donnie Swaggart, said some bullshit over the course of the week. So we got that going on. Now, another story, and this we're gonna kind of close out the show with this here. But so Charlemagne and Stephen A. Smith have been going like they have been viral across the social media streets over the course of the last week, man. They have finally, Charlemagne and Stephen A. Smith have finally got the message that they've been saying some bullshit. But what brought them to the realization that they've been saying some bullshit? We're gonna talk about it, right? So let me take this down. Let me stop sharing that. And we're gonna pull up where do we start? We're gonna start with where is it? Okay, we're gonna start with this here. Okay. So Charlemagne filed a cease and desist order against the Donald Trump campaign for president because they were using him and DJ Envy's likeness in an ad against Kamala Harris and talking about transgender transgender prisoners being able to receive care while they were locked up. We get the story here. This comes out of Vibe magazine. It says Charlemagne the God has issued a cease and desist order to Donald Trump in regards to a campaign ad attacking presidential opponent Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris's stance on funding surgical procedures for transgender prisoners using taxpayer dollars. In the ad, a clip of Charlemagne speaking on the matter was taken out of context to appear as if he was in opposition of U.S. Vice President Harris's declaration that transgender inmates should receive the necessary care required in their transition. The radio host and the New York Times bestselling author has since issued a legal notice to Trump demanding he remove the portion of the campaign ad featuring his voice immediately. Interestingly enough, they're not saying that DJ Envy involved himself in any type of way like this. Cease and desist been sent. The South Carolina native announced in response to backlash over the misleading remarks in the ad. Since when does Trump care about what's legal? In the original audio, Charlemagne spoke on his initial reaction to the campaign ad, which he felt was ultimately effective in swaying his perception of the matter. I'll tell you what, the ad they was running during the football games this weekend claiming the vice president supports funding general gender transition surgeries for all prison inmates and migrants in the U.S., that was nuts, Charlemagne said at the time. I don't know if that's what I don't know if it was the backdrop of football, but when you hear the narrator say Kamala supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners, that one line I was like, hell no, I don't want my taxpayer dollars going to that. He continued added that ad was effective. It literally said that Kamala supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners, and it talked about how, you know, the supporters, she supports funding gender transition surgeries for all prisoner inmates and migrants in the United States. That ad was impactful. So initially, Charlemagne was talking about how effective the ad was, despite the fact that they were using his voice. He talked about how effective it was. He said, Vice President Harris's advocacy for transgender rights has been clear throughout her campaign, as she has called for the protection of transgender individuals from discrimination and access to health care and other social services, right? And so he's sent a cease and desist to the Donald Trump campaign for their use of, for not only the use of his voice, but his likeness as well, because they've been playing those campaign commercials. They've been playing them here in Michigan. We get them. Michigan being a swing state, we've been getting a lot of those too. More often than not, the campaigns with Donald Trump saying Kamala Harris is for they them, and Donald Trump is, you know, fighting for you, right? That's how they typically end those particular commercials, right? And one of the things you guys know, I've been very critical about Charlemagne, the Breakfast Club, how they have used their platform politically, how oftentimes their platform has been used to not even necessarily say or present any informative information to the audience, but oftentimes they're looking for a viral moment to make, you know, the candidates look a little bit silly, or to denigrate some of the candidates who are a bit more serious than the show itself would lend themselves to, like showing those folks to be, but then also giving platform to people like a Nikki Haley or a Vivek Ramaswamy to come on those airways and, you know, spout misinformation and disinformation to a large population of folk because their audience is so big. Just a couple weeks ago, man, I was talking about how they had the brother from Florida who was dealing with the hurricane, and how although he was dealing with, you know, a lot, some of the things that he was talking about was just like him being subject to so much misinformation and disinformation, and Charlemagne the God and DJ Envy not putting that brother into a position where they can, like, you know, lead him to some resources that could help him. But they allowed for a bunch of misinformation and disinformation to be spread by him, and then say that this is what the people need to hear, despite the fact that what he was saying was bogus. It was bogus, man. So I've been very critical of Charlemagne and people like Charlemagne on my microphone. I've been very critical of that, right? But Charlemagne went on CNN and he had a back and forth with CNN's one of their top hosts, Anderson Cooper. And he talked about the coverage that CNN has been giving in relation to Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. And so we're gonna pull this video up so we can kind of like see what the fuck he was talking about. But also, I feel as though like Charlemagne it's the pot calling the kettle black. Let me pull this up so you guys can watch right along with your man's pan. Here we go. Check this out.
I think that her saying that she believes Donald Trump is a fascist got a lot of headlines because it was the first time she said it. She's been going along for days saying Mark Milley said he's a fascist. This person said this. You raised the question of authenticity in your interview with her, and that was an authentic moment where she says, "Yeah, I do think he's a fascist," and I think that's why it had a reaction. Donald Trump, he for whatever you think about him, if you like him, if you hate him, he is certainly who he is. He's showing us who he is every single day.
Yeah, which is a fascist. And it's crazy because you still don't have news networks having that conversation. Like when somebody says, when somebody questions Kamala Harris's blackness or is he a DEI hire, y'all will have roundtable discussions about that, asking that question. How come you're not having roundtable discussions asking, is Donald Trump a fascist? Actually not even asking it, stating it. I mean, when you look at the things that he's talking about doing, jailing journalists, jailing his political opponents, turning the military on American citizens. The guy said he wanted to terminate the Constitution to overthrow the results of an election. How come that is not the topic of discussion on networks like CNN every day?
But do you think that, I mean, you were raising this with Kamala Harris about her own authenticity, about her own willingness to just, you know, say things that aren't crafted. Do you think she needs to do more of that? You know, Trump's going to go. Trump's going to go. Apparently, Trump's going on is going to tape a thing with Joe Rogan. Do you think she should do that?
I think that she should keep calling Donald Trump a fascist. And I think that Americans need to keep looking at the rhetoric of Donald Trump, because I don't know why we're even thinking about electing somebody who's talking about putting people in camps. I don't know why why we want to elect somebody who's talking about mass deportation. I don't know why we're having this conversation about somebody who wants to terminate the Constitution to overthrow the results of an election. Aren't we?
And I as much as right now, your man Spann would actually agree with what the fuck Charlemagne is saying right now.
What in blue blazes is going on out here? Did this nigga just say blue blazes?
I would agree. However, when I was watching how this had been received on social media, it was one of those things where I was like, yo, I'm glad he's here now. However, this is the pot calling the kettle black, because Charlemagne himself has been a part of how the discourse became what the discourse was, especially with the African-American community, especially with those who listen to the Breakfast Club on the daily and will use those clips on the daily to say or to buttress how they feel about politics and the politicians that are coming on the Breakfast Club to talk to them. Right? Charlemagne has been very irresponsible with that particular platform. And it's one of those things where I feel as though it took for him to be used in a Trump ad in a way that he didn't agree with, for him to finally understand what his platform meant and how it will be received amongst the masses at large, right? Charlemagne is as we discussed earlier, has issued a cease and desist letter to the Trump campaign to stop using his image in those campaign ads, because he has, endorsed Kamala Harris for president of the United States. However, you have allowed your platform to be used by both sides of the aisle, oftentimes being a bit flippant about how the politicians who come on your platform, whether they be Democrat or Republican, have been very flippant about it. And it took for you to be used in an ad for you to decide, like, yo, this might not be the role that I want to have. And in like the annals of history, I don't want to be remembered in a certain way. That's where I feel Charlemagne is now, only because the Trump campaign decided to use him in an ad against the person that he's endorsed for president, which will be Vice President Kamala Harris.
Supposed to be a patriotic country. Whenever somebody like Colin Kaepernick takes a knee in this country, everybody talks about, oh, that's so unpatriotic. But a guy can say he wants to terminate the Constitution to overthrow the results of an election, and nobody cares. And like even me bringing it up now, you brought it back to Kamala and Joe Rogan. Anderson?
Yeah.
Who gives a damn?
Well, I mean, I think you give a damn who's elected president, and I'm
especially if that president is a fascist. That's talking about putting people in camps. That's talking about, once again, terminating the Constitution to overthrow the results of an election. That's talking about, jailing his political opponents. Yeah. Like, that rhetoric doesn't scare people?
Well, we talk about this every single. This is what
I don't think
I've been talking about this every night.
I don't think y'all have enough conversations about it. I feel like I heard more on this network about is Kamala Harris black than I do about, Donald Trump being a fascist.
Well,
am I wrong, Angela?
Honestly, that's bullshit. I'm sorry.
Oh, I like that.
That's no,
Go
that
ahead,
is
Anderson.
no. I'm not. Look, I'm a huge fan of yours. Okay, but to say.
And here's the other part, right? A lot of people have been like coming at Anderson Cooper because Anderson Cooper was like personalizing some of the things he was talking. Charlemagne was mostly talking about the network, but Anderson Cooper was personalizing a lot of this shit. But keep it a buck. The messenger means like the messenger actually has some relevance here. Like, so when I think what Anderson Cooper is saying, like, bro, this is real rich coming from you. I'm a fan of you. And I see you doing this exact same shit. But you come on this network and you trying to call this shit out, but you do the exact same shit. Right? You do this exact same shit. And so, I'm not an apologist for motherfucking Anderson Cooper, but I think Anderson Cooper was like, yo, man, like, yeah, I don't do this. The network might do this, but hold on, man. Who the fuck are you to be calling this out? Because I know you do this exact same thing, and I'm a fan of yours. How dare you? This is how I interpret this particular exchange.
Say that we're sitting around discussing is Kamala Harris black? Like
I've seen that. I've seen those
that's
roundtable discussions a lot. Now that's
true.
bullshit, Anderson. For you to say that y'all don't have those conversations.
I've never asked somebody is.
Oh, I'm not saying
Kamala
you.
Harris
I said the
black?
network.
He said the network.
I don't think anyone I don't think any anchor on this network has been going around saying, "Is she black?"
Y'all have never had a.
We have had. Look, I'm sure we have had, nutty people or people who have strongly held beliefs who I may disagree with, who somewhere on some panel have said something, but I will just speak up for what I do on the show. I do believe it's important to get people different viewpoints as long as they're willing to have a legitimate conversation. What I don't like are surrogates who come out and just spout talking points that they don't even believe, and those are people I tried to eliminate from having ever on the air again.
I think no network has honest conversations about Donald Trump. You haven't had.
Do you include the Breakfast Club on that? That is a grand question in this entire exchange. Do you include the Breakfast Club, Power 105.1 in New York? Do you include them in that entire discussion? Because you also platform some bullshit and also try to have viral moments with some of the questions that are being asked of the candidates that come on your show, right? So, like, as much as people were like, yo, man, Charlemagne finally gets it, I'm like, I don't know, man. It just seems to me that shit got too close to home with him. Because now, the RNC, Donald Trump, is using his image to promote a candidate that he doesn't necessarily agree with, but they're using his image to promote that said candidate. And I just don't. He's been saying some fuck shit for a long time. And I think the fuck shit has caught up with him. And so for people to celebrate him now is like, okay, yeah, he finally gets it. But the only reason I think he finally gets it is because now he doesn't necessarily want to be associated with those folks who are promoting the folks who he might not necessarily be aligned with, but his rhetoric has allowed for his voice to be used for the folks that he doesn't align with. Right? He isn't the only one, though. He isn't the only one. We got one more. Let me pull this down. So, because I got one more. Stephen A. Smith. Now, Stephen A. Smith is an entity unto himself, man. Real talk. Like, Stephen A. Smith has been, his meteoric rise politically, or like in like the media space period has been like astronomical, right? Stephen A. Smith proudly would say that he is fiscally conservative and socially liberal, right? He is friends with the likes of people like Sean Hannity. I can tell you right now, Sean Hannity probably doesn't have a lot of black friends. He could probably count them on both his hands, right? However, Stephen A. Smith went on Fox News, and he went on Sean Hannity's show to talk about Donald Trump. And both Sean Hannity and Stephen A. Smith were talking about Trump, and they disagreed about Trump. But it kind of went viral because of Stephen A. Smith's pushback on Sean Hannity about what Donald Trump means to America. Not only that, like how Donald Trump is not necessarily all the way there when it comes to his rhetoric, right? So I'm gonna pull this video up so you guys can watch right along with your man Spann. Hold on just a second while I do that. And let's see what the hell Sean Hannity and Stephen A. Smith are talking about. Give me just a second here. I'm going to pull that up.
John James was caught ripping off taxpayers. His company took millions in tax breaks on a pledge to create jobs.
Although I do not fuck with John James, and I just don't like the ads, right? But John James is a piece of shit, real talk.
But they never did. They kept the money, and James paid himself millions instead. Millions for him, no new jobs for us.
I'm Bruce Springsteen, and I am here today to support Kamala Harris and Tim Walz for president.
Okay, this isn't what I thought was going to be played. So let me go down here. Stephen A. Smith spars. Where's the fucking video, man? Where's Stephen A. Smith and Sean Hannity sparring? This is what I need. As you guys watch me search for the fucking video, because this isn't what the fuck they said was going to be on the website. Hold on just a second here. We're not trying to watch a Bruce Springsteen concert. Where the fuck is the video, bro? Keep in mind, this is The Guardian. All right? This is The Guardian. Now, mind you, this entire article is supposed to be about we can't be watching the same stuff. And they're showing me some other shit. All right? So let me pull this. Let me pull this other down. Let me pull this down. We're gonna go to let's see if we can find it on YouTube. Oh, okay. So here we go. Let me do this. Let me do this here. Nope, not that one, but this one. All right. I think we might be in business. Let me do this here and let's play this.
Senator Lindsey Graham is about. Number two, I know you're not talking about somebody being lucid and cogent and enunciating their thoughts with clarity, and you're bragging about Donald Trump. We can't be watching the same stuff if that's what you're doing. You ain't going to do that today.
You know
now,
what?
Lindsey Graham, hold it. Now, Senator Lindsey Graham is about to come on this show.
Let me tell you
now,
something.
that man can articulate himself very well.
First things first, I'm a little bit upset that someone like a Stephen A. Smith would highlight someone like a Lindsey Graham, who can essentially become the most obsequious United States senator to Donald Trump in the history of being obsequious to anybody. I don't know what the fuck Donald Trump has on Lindsey Graham, but Donald Trump essentially has taken down like Lindsey Graham's soul when it comes to what it means to have principles, what it means to have morals, what it means to have integrity. Lindsey Graham has given up everything as far as what it means to be an actual fucking man that stands on his own 2 feet when it comes to Donald Trump. So the fact that Stephen A. Smith is saying like, yo, behind me is going to probably be Lindsey Graham, and Lindsey Graham can articulate himself, but Lindsey Graham also was talking shit about Trump years ago and has become the most obsequious Donald Trump sycophant in the history of obsequious Donald Trump sycophants. Come on, man. What are you talking about? Really, what are you talking about?
Donald Trump now.
I have sat with him for hour after hour after hour, topic after topic after topic.
We don't believe you, bro. We watched Donald Trump talk in front of people. Donald Trump is not on the up and up. Donald Trump can't even stay on topic. He calls his shit the weave. He can't even stay on topic. He can't do it. You are not convincing anyone who is of sane mind and body that Donald Trump has it all together. I'm sorry, you're not. Even Stephen A. Smith knows this is bullshit. And the fact that y'all are friends is bullshit. But the fact that you are on national television, oh yeah. I talked to him on hours and hours, and he's all about it. Nobody believes you, bro. We need more people.
And he is so dialed in. Look, you know, it's funny. People.
He's even stuttering.
This is like
the
latest
cancel
argument.
press conferences?
And meanwhile,
yeah. So Stephen A. Smith went on Sean Hannity, and talked as though like, yo, he couldn't vote for Trump. He won't vote for Trump. One of the things that he did say was that, had there been like someone like a Nikki Haley or a Lindsey Graham or any other Republican, he would probably vote for them, which isn't necessarily, I don't know, in this climate, that's some shit you would say if people thought you had any motherfucking sense. Like,
Supposed to feel sorry for that bitch. I don't.
Nikki Haley is a flip-flopper. And much to say with it, like Lindsey Graham is a flip-flopper. I don't think like Stephen A. Smith really thought through what he was saying when he said that bullshit about had it been Lindsey Graham or Nikki Haley or John Sununu or any other Republican, I'd have voted for them, but not Donald Trump, because essentially Sean Hannity said that I think in the grand scheme of things, you're going to vote for Donald Trump. Stephen A. Smith, for as much as he's entertaining in the sports realm, has left a lot to be desired when it comes to his political acumen. I get that there are some of us who believe that we can still be friends with those folks who are Republican and everything else. I'm of the mindset, and this is just me, I'm only speaking for myself. I'm of the mindset that if you could align yourself with people who are diametrically opposed to the salvation and the not even so much the salvation, but the survival of your people. If you could be friends with those sorts of folk, then I couldn't fuck with you. Right? I think at this particular juncture, the Donald Trump coalition, the MAGA wing of the Republican Party, is kind of taking over the Republican Party. If you could be cool with them, I can't be cool with you. And I know there's a lot of folks who feel as though, like, yo, it's what's the word that I'm looking for? It's immature, man. You know, we should be able to disagree and be disagreeable and all this other shit, but like, not about our very fucking existence, bro. Not about that. And people like a Nikki Haley, people like a John Sununu, people like a Lindsey Graham have pretty much like sold their souls, man, to be a part of that particular coalition of folks who don't fuck with people who look like me. So if you feel as though you look like you can be friends with the people who don't fuck with me, then I can't necessarily fuck with you. Right? That's how it makes sense to me. Right? And so, although someone like a Stephen A. Smith and a Stephen A. Smith and fucking Charlemagne are finally figuring out how their rhetoric has contributed to the detriment of their own people. At the same time, it's like, yo, man, I would hope that it's not too little too late. I would hope that it's not too little too late. Because of some of the rhetoric that you guys have been putting forth prior to all of this. Before it became personal for you. In much the same way, but like for someone like, say for instance, Meghan McCain. Remember when Meghan McCain was pregnant with her child and suddenly she realized that women should have a more robust leave from work during their pregnancies? And that she finally understood that women should have that time off? Right? This is how I feel about people like a Charlemagne and a Stephen A. Smith, who, despite whatever happens, they're going to be okay because they are millionaires, right? But how does that affect the communities from which you came? And how does that, in a negative way, affect the people who listen to you? You might be removed from some of the conditions in which they are living with. But at the end of the day, your rhetoric could influence how they go to the polls and whether or not they go to the polls with an idea that's totally contrary to their own personal interest. But they trusted you for the information. Right? So, yeah, man, we're going to get on up out of here with that. But, of course, before we get on up out of here, I got to remind you guys how to get in touch with us here at the Mr. Spann Official Podcast and let your voice be heard. You can go ahead and hit us up at our hotline at area code 313-288-0485. That's area code 313-288-0485. Leave us those voicemail messages. Those voicemail messages will get played here live on the show and responded to in kind. You can also email us here, feedback@thespannreport.com. That's feedback@thespannreport.com. Go ahead, leave us those emails, and of course, those emails will get right here and reply to here live as well. Follow me on Threads and Instagram. My name on both of those platforms is Mr._Spann. So go ahead and follow me there. Chop it up with your man Spann throughout the week. Also, leave us a 5-star review on iTunes and or Spotify. Those 5-star reviews are the ones that get right here. We really appreciate everybody who does that. Doesn't cost you a dime, man. Just a couple minutes of your time to let everybody know why you're rocking with us over here at the Mr. Spann Official Podcast and the Spann Report Podcast Network in its entirety. Also, go to our store at tpublic.com. Go over there to tpublic.com / the Spann Report Podcast Network. Buy yourself some merch, man. Get yourself a t-shirt, coffee mug, mouse pad. We got a whole bunch of gear over there. We really appreciate everybody who supports us in that way. Also, if you're watching us via YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Like the videos. We really appreciate everybody who does that as well, man. I am about to get on out of here. I'll talk to you guys again soon. But until next time, fam, peace.